Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Bullony Basketball once again. I'm here with my guy, Jack. How's it going today, Jack?
It's going pretty good. It's been a pretty good day so far. How's it been going for you?
Hasn't been too bad. Didn't have to wake up early today, which is kind of good. Just kind of been
Oh, yeah.
chilling, and we got a lot of nice stuff to talk about here. The NBA season's in the final weeks. Teams are gearing up
Yeah.
for the playoffs, and I think we should start off talking with a potential first round matchup we might see because the Minnesota Timberwolves, your team and stuff, like they have
Yeah.
been cooking lately. In fact, they've you know really have, I think, the longest win streak right now in the Western Conference. And we also look at a team like OKC, who's been number one. And if they're a 1-8 matchup, the way things have stacked up this season, who knows what could happen. So I'm going to ask you, do you think that a healthy Timberwolves team could actually be a threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I think any team with Anthony Edwards is a threat to any other team in the playoffs, honestly. Especially with the way that the Wolves have been playing. Julius Randle has been just trying to fit in now instead of trying to force up shots like usual.
Yeah.
Been accepting his role, and it's been helping the team a lot with wins and just playing better defense overall, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see. He said something about it.
Um, well,
Go ahead.
while you're checking that though, like just to even add with the Randall part, like he pretty sure they're like on an 11 game win streak currently, like in the last 11 games he's played.
Yeah. He's
So
been playing great since his injury, especially.
yeah, so I don't know. It's just like a really interesting topic because I actually think the Timberwolves, like, this is a team who was the third seed last year and really were only a game away from one. Like, they made it to the conference finals, like, while those teams above them did not. And, that team that did beat them is kind of dismantled right now. So it's like you would think that they have the confidence that they could beat any of these teams. Especially Denver. You've seen that this season. You saw it again, like, the other day. So I don't know. I think that they could pose as a real threat. But the reason I'd say specifically the Thunder is that, like, they've had the big comeback against them earlier this year, and then they beat them earlier in the year, which Thunder don't have that many losses, so to beat them twice and then a team
Yeah.
that's really looked firm. I mean, the Thunder just swept the Celtics in the season series, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The Thunder are definitely the team that scare me the most, honestly.
Yeah,
That team, they've been ridiculous. One of the best offenses and one of the best defenses in basketball already. I mean, I'm not really sure if we could beat them, honestly, in a playoff series. I think we'd make it tough on them, though, at the least, especially with the leap that Jaden McDaniels has took offensively with when guys like Julius went down and Rudy went down. He started scoring a lot better, which I love to see.
yeah, yeah. I even think like Nikhil Alexander Walker. I feel like he's really been more refurbished like as a player this year than even in previous years, and that says a lot because last year he was good. But I feel like that makes it a little bit easier for like Mike Conley, who's kind of an older, another year
Yeah.
older. And Nas Reed is just crazy
Oh
good.
yeah, Nas Reed is Nas Reed.
Nah, they always have that thing where it's like Nas Reed, but in between the
Nas
name it says
Reed.
Nas Reed Reed.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. I do think. I mean, it's really hard to bet against the Thunder. They are like the favorites,
Yeah.
but I don't think this would be your typical 1-8 matchup if you get it. I think it
Oh
would
no,
go
not at
six
all.
games at least.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, even that, like, even if that just happened, like, sometimes teams get tired having to play like more back to back. If you're a team like the Thunder, you got to play 6 or 7 games first round. And then if they had to play Denver round two, who like maybe was in 4 or 5 games, handled their business, or like the Lakers or the Warriors or Clipper or whoever else is like on that side, like, it might be bad for them.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be excited to see Ant against Shea in the first round. I'd love to see that.
yeah, I don't, I mean, That's the other thing too. I mean, Shea did show up last year, I would say against Dallas, but I feel like Ant definitely like I believe that he believes he can compete with any other top tier player in the league.
Oh, Ant thinks he's the best player of all time, and I love that.
Yeah. But then he'll always like give credit to everyone. Like when it's like the
Yeah,
playoffs. Like I remember last year he's like, oh, KD's like he's the top player, and then like Jokic is like unstoppable, and you know what I mean. So
yeah. They got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels.
yeah, like if he's going against that is true. um, if they're going against the Thunder, like he'll probably like because MVP isn't announced until like the second round usually, but he'll be gassing up Shea
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, he's the MVP, like MVP of the league and stuff like that. Like I can already see it happening.
Oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add here.
Um, I'd love to see what we do matchup wise against a fully healthy Thunder team in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Don't really know where we would hide a Mike Conley, honestly.
the bench.
Yeah.
I actually think I mean you play Alexander Walker. I don't know. I've just been more impressed with him like this year personally. Like
Oh yeah, now it's been cooking this year.
and who better to guard Shea than his cousin? That's all I'm gonna say.
That's true.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you want though, we can move on here to the next topic. Talk about just Zion Williamson has officially come back. Which I mean, I guess shout out to him because I feel like most people that are star players this late in the year, their team is kind of done for. They would have just hung it up to and came back the next year. So, I mean, he did come
Yeah.
back this year. He actually just had like a triple double against the Clippers and a win. So, I mean, he still obviously is trying to play hard and compete. This season is pretty much a wraps for the Pelicans. But do you think that this is a good sign that like maybe Zion's going to be officially back and next year, year after that, we can expect more of the same?
I think it's a very good sign if you're a Pelicans fan that there's some kind of hope in the future for you.
Hmm.
With Zion Williamson. I'm kind of concerned he's only averaging 28 minutes a night, but I understand they're not doing the best. You don't want the guy to get hurt, especially with his history and how good he's been playing. I do think he will continue this if he stays healthy, though. I think this is Zion Williamson.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like with Zion in general, I mean, this is one of the, I'm pretty sure, only, I think it's like what, Bob Pettit, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Durant, Donovan Mitchell, and Luca are like the only players that have averaged 20 like every season and have done it for longer. I guess Embiid too, but he's missed some
Yeah.
seasons too. Uh, like yeah, I don't know. I think with Zion, like he's definitely shown that he can. Every time he steps on the floor, like he's going to be an important player. It's just a matter of if he's going to step on the floor, and that's why I think some people are thinking like, some people are just like really amazed that he's been in New Orleans. I think this long. I think that was one of the biggest things they were
Yeah.
talking about, especially after the Luca trade. It's like Luca was there for 6.5 years, made the NBA Finals, brought him to the playoffs like most of the time, made first team All NBA like 5 times, and yet they still traded him away. And then a player like Zion, who's never made first team All NBA, he's never played a playoff game. I know last year he was close, like they made it, but then he got hurt in the play-in.
Yeah.
Like it's just like amazing that he's still a part of that team. And so I don't know if it's like a change of scenery could be coming. I know that they traded away Brandon Ingram, which it seemed like they were going to have to decide between those two. So maybe that means they're more likely to keep him. But I don't know. I think eventually like
Yeah.
the Zion Pelicans tenure will run its course. And so if that's the case, like I'm just trying to think like where he'd go. And hopefully it's like somewhere better, for, I don't know.
Yeah, he just needs more shooters around him.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot have the paint clogged with having Zion Williamson on the team. That just can't be a thing. You need to get him with a stretch five.
Yeah. They've hardly done that for him too. Like
No, I mean the best I can think of is Jonas Valanciunas.
Even like from the guard play though too. Like you think of CJ, it's like CJ's a scorer, but he's not really much of a shooter. I mean, they had Drew Holiday for a little bit, they had Lonzo for a bit, but this was before. I think this is even a little before Lonzo like became a 3-point shooter like he has been, and then Drew Holiday really has never been great. I know he had that great year last year with Boston, but like they haven't really put him with that. I think the only guy maybe was like Redick, but at that point he was kind of like really old, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think the thing with him being still in New Orleans is I feel like teams are more hesitant to trade for Zion compared to trading for Luke as a no-brainer.
yeah, unless you're the Mavericks,
Especially when you
trade
have to
him away.
give up so little.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
I still can't believe that happened.
it makes no sense. We'll have to see what happens with Zion, though. I feel like eventually, I'm trying to think like when the time frame would be for it, though. I feel like they will give him. I mean, if it goes bad next year, they might try to trade him at the deadline. But I think they would maybe give him at least one more year, and then they come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
I kind of want to just see him on a new team too. I know like we shouldn't be hoping for every player to switch teams, but like it just some of it like people say like, oh, he just never wanted to be in New Orleans, and maybe like if he were somewhere he wants to be, whether it's New York or whether it's, I mean, I don't know where else, maybe like a Miami or something if you wanted. But I just want to see him like play.
Not let that man in Miami.
I don't want him in Miami, but I just want to see him play. You know, if that's what it takes, like I guess, you know.
Man's gonna hit 340 in Miami.
I don't know. You think? I feel like in New Orleans though, it's a little bit worse because they always have like the Mardi Gras stuff. You know.
They got the nightlife though in Miami.
That is true.
You're already going crazy in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know.
You need to send that man to Utah.
Utah.
Put him with the Mormons.
God.
No fatty food, just basketball.
Yeah.
Just ball.
I don't know. We'll have to see. One place they shouldn't send him is Vegas if they come out with an expansion team.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. We could keep it pushing here though a little bit. Talk about this whole like pretty stupid ordeal, honestly, that happened between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith. You know, it seemed like the topic of discussion was Bronny, and LeBron was kind of saying like, oh, like, you know, it's not fair. Like, you know, stop talking about my son that way, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, Stephen A. Smith was kind of like, he looked like shook in the video that we've seen. Like, he looked like he was like shivering a little. But he made it seem like they were just having like a normal discussion, but it was unfair for LeBron to come up to him. So what do you just like make of this whole, you know, thing like this?
I think it's weird and something we've never really seen with a player doing that, especially when it's talking about his son. But his son kind of puts himself in the spotlight, just playing in the NBA and being LeBron James' son. I mean, he can't choose that second one, but people are going to talk about him since he's LeBron's son. And if he plays poorly, just like if Bron plays poorly, they'll talk about it. I do think Stephen A. is dragging the hell out of it, though.
Yeah.
This man is milking everything he can get out of it.
Literally. I mean, like, ever since this happened, he's talked about it on First Take. He went on Gil's Arena and talked about it. He went on he joined back with Skip Bayless for an episode. Like, I don't know if you saw that, but he went on his podcast for an episode and talked about it. So, seems like he's having like a whole like world tour, like, or something about the whole issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I do think it's fair criticism. I think maybe LeBron's a little more hurt and went up to him because he probably has had a good relationship with Stephen A. for years or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he actually confronted him. I mean, if you and I were saying like, well, Bronny sucks, like, I don't think he's gonna really care because he's gonna be like, who are these guys, you know? Like, true. So that's probably part of it. But you know, with what he was saying, I don't think he was ever really blaming Bronny. I think it was just like the situation he was put in, and I think honestly that's more criticism on LeBron because it seems like LeBron is why Bronny is in the NBA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
I
think
mean,
that's where you took offense to it. But go ahead.
like even if Bronny is hurt by it, I mean, part of it is I feel like you should have prepared him for that kind of stuff. You should have told him it will happen if he has bad games. He's your son. You've been in the NBA for 20 something years. You know what happens when people play poorly, especially when they have that big of a spotlight on them. They're
Yeah.
going to get shit on, especially by the media now, with
Right.
the way that media is.
Yeah, I don't know. It does seem a little unfair, like for Bronny, and it's like, well, this is where it becomes tough because, like, obviously, like, if Michael Jordan's the GOAT, his kids played basketball in college, but they didn't play in the NBA, so it's like
Yeah.
they maybe still sometimes like hear things like, oh, like you failed, like you didn't like meet the standards of your like dad or whatever, or you didn't make the NBA too, and like those sort of things, but they probably don't come across as much because now they're not talked about every day, they're not seen every
Yeah.
day. Whereas Bronny, it's like right now, like he's kind of in the NBA/G League, and so every day like he's playing or practicing, so they're gonna be talking about him, especially with LeBron, who's like one of the most like polarizing like athletes ever. You know what I mean? One of the most talked about
Yeah.
athletes ever, for good or for bad. It's like Bronny is automatically going to be like microscope too. So it's like if that's something he wanted, or if that's something like LeBron wanted, like more so, I like he was pushing Bronny, and Bronny feels like he has to do it. Like I guess we won't really know too much until like anything like that ever came
Yeah.
out. But I feel like LeBron took it personal because maybe he feels like to a degree like there's some partial truth in that.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly do think Bronny gets too much flack. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the draft and the guys who got took after him, they aren't doing anything.
Yeah. I'm curious like with that too, but you can keep going real quick.
Here, wait. I saw a video of some guy comparing Bronny to the people picked after him, and they haven't even like played NBA minutes yet, and they're in the G League doing like 9 points a game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, part of that though could be he's LeBron James' son. He has a green light,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so he's going to score 30 in the G League.
I mean, I will say so. I mean, just looking from it, two of the three guys that were picked after him have played. Oh yeah, one of them was on the Knicks. I do think that guy, the Huck Porty guy or whatever, I think he probably has been better than Bronny just because he's actually played like meaningful minutes some games.
Mm,
This other guy has played. I can't even really say his name. Ulrich Comchi. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, but I mean, and two, maybe like you said, like Bronny being related to LeBron, like plays some influence with that. And then this other guy has not played, so we can't really tell. But I don't know.
yeah,
It's tough. I mean, at that draft spot, nobody's hardly ever gonna get picked. That's great.
yeah,
Pretty much, I think that low. You're thinking like Ginobili or like Isaiah Thomas from like the like Celtics Isaiah Thomas. Like those are like the only like
yeah,
big names really that late. So Jokic, but that was even a little before that. So
yeah. That was 41.
yeah.
So
So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of silly. Probably needed to be addressed a little bit. I think Stephen A though is kind of milking it, like you said. Like
yeah.
at this point, it's um, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add there. If you wanted to keep it pushing.
Um, I feel like Bronny's just going to continue to get more hate, though. Honestly, with like, fuck, you have House of Highlights posting Bronny assist. What?
Yeah.
Bronny 3-pointer, and it's just the most routine corner three of anybody's career. It's like, why are we posting this? And it's because they know it will get engagement. Talking about Bronny gets engagement. It's going to continue to happen. He'll have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away.
It's an easy target too. I mean, kind of similar like when
Oh
Westbrook
yeah,
was on the Lakers, and like obviously Westbrook's like he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame one day, and he's won an MVP, but like he just made like he was due for a lot of turnovers or silly mistakes on the Lakers. It's like every day it's like, oh, here's another Russ error, here's another turnover and foul, and
yeah, and I mean Russ has such a big fan base. People are going to respond to that, just like LeBron has a fan base, and people will respond to talking about his son.
yeah.
I mean, it's just they're doing what gets them clicks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's just the way you see on social media sometimes, but yeah. I don't know if you want though.
Yeah.
We can keep it pushing to the honor of the week segment. So this is just like a 1 minute segment. I'm gonna give you a former player.
Okay.
You can either praise him or hate him. It's up to you. And you can go as soon as I say the player's name. So are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So you have 1 minute to talk about him however you'd like. Your player is Jabari Parker.
Jabari Parker. Oh my gosh, Jabari. If that man didn't get injured, him and Giannis would have been so good. I'm so confident that they. How many times did that man get injured? He tore both his ACLs,
Yeah,
didn't
he
he?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was averaging 20 before he got injured.
hmm
I it's terrible what happened to Jabari Parker. He had so much potential. You really hate to see when a guy goes through injury like that and then just falls out of the league the way Jabari did.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, in the theme of like obviously all the D Rose stuff I've done this season. I mean, went to Simeon as well. Came out of Chicago. One of the legends I would say that came from the city, like in terms of high school basketball.
Yeah.
And I thought personally, like even at that time, I know Andrew Wiggins had a lot of clout, but I always thought like Jabari was going to be the first pick. And then even when he went second, like you said, I still felt like he was on the path to be like an all-star at least once or a couple
Yeah.
times. I actually think that year in 2017, I do think he should have been. The year he averaged I think like 21 and like 5 or 6 or something. The Bucks were a playoff team too. Like I thought, okay, he's gonna make it as like one of those last few guys, and then we're gonna start to see like Jabari Parker for many years. And then next year
Yeah.
he had the injuries and never the same after that.
I mean, he averaged 26 and a half and 3 assists. I mean,
It's pretty
he
good.
was 21 years old.
Yeah.
It's only up from there. I mean, you just hate to see that happen to a guy.
I want.
I mean, he.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. When was his second ACL injury? I mean, he was still averaging 15 after the first one,
Yeah.
which isn't terrible, but he got hurt again.
I just wonder how different the Bucks would have looked if he stayed healthy. Because like they won in
Yeah.
2021. It's like, would they still win that year? Would they win more? It's because I do think
Yeah.
that him, like people forget, like at that point in time, like Chris Middleton was still good, but I think we all thought, okay, Jabari was arguably the best option. Then Giannis had that crazy breakthrough. And then you're like, okay, it's Giannis, then Jabari, then Chris Middleton. Jabari got hurt. Chris Middleton became the second guy, really.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm looking at his stats. His third year, he wasn't a bad shooter either. He would have worked well with Giannis.
yeah.
3.5 threes a game, 36%. I mean, I do feel like the paint would have gotten a little bit clogged down low.
hmm
Not sure though.
I mean, honestly, I think if they kept Jabari, I could have seen them moving Giannis to like a center.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
I don't know if they get like a Brook Lopez.
yeah, and I mean Giannis is tall enough. He'd be like one of the better probably rim protectors in the league if you're asking him just to play center.
Oh yeah.
So I mean that is the one thing that Jabari struggled with is like on the defensive side. But I think like if Giannis is there to like clean stuff up, or you had like another backup big that was doing that, like it would make things easier.
had John Henson, didn't they?
John
Crazy.
Henson. Shout out John Henson.
John Henson.
I
Shout
met him.
out Big Dog.
I met him. I actually got his autograph once.
He was a center. I think they had Zaza Pachulia too.
Yeah.
Did they have Zaza?
I think Zaza was a little before that. That was Jabari's rookie year. They had him. But yeah, they should have had John Henson then. I think they had him until like 2018, 19. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough.
Detroit Piston legend.
Oh yeah,
Henson.
Play with D Rose too, for a little moment. But I guess while we're on the topic of D Rose, why don't we get into the little mini game to close out the show? So obviously with all these mini games, I've done the Rose Gold Trivia, I've done the Rose or Fell, I've done the Rose Engagement one. I got to think of something that's a creative name. And so for this one, I called it the Sloppy Rose mini game. So kind of like Sloppy Joe, Sloppy Rose. So it's going to be formatted the same way as like the Rose Gold Trivia, only this is just 5 questions. They're all based on like something bad. So like turnovers or fouls essentially. Now I will say question 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand. Question 3 and 4 go hand in hand. There's 2 of them that are like all or nothing, so you're going to get 10 or 0. And the other 3, it's going to be however close you are, you're going to get as many as 10 points, but you'll be subtracted 1 point for every 1 you are away.
Okay.
So we will see. So with that being said, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the first question, and again, this is a partial credit one. You could get as many as 10 points, but you could even get 1. So I'm just looking for the total, not the player, but the most turnovers in a game by a player is what?
This year, I don't have James Harden on his Houston numbers for turnovers. 12.
So you're gonna roll with 12 as the most turnovers in a game by a player?
Yeah.
I should preface too, like this is just regular season, so not playoffs too. I think, or no, I think it's I'm pretty sure it's actually both. My fault.
Okay.
So you're gonna roll with 12 though.
So it's this season?
It's not this season. It's just all time.
Oh, all time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Most in a game by a player.
18.
Okay, so you're rolling with 18?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is not 18, but you're not that far off. It was 16. Yes, by a player named Mike Bantam. Yeah, I think he played like
wonder where he's at.
40 years ago or something. Well, considering he's a very unknown player in history, and he has the record for that, probably not too good, to say the least. So because you were 2 away, though, you got 8 points on that. So the second one's going to be an all or nothing question, though. So you're either going to get it right or wrong, one guess at it. So in games played against D Rose for his career, who has the most total turnovers in games played against D Rose? I feel like you might be able to get this.
Westbrook.
So you're going to go with Russell Westbrook?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me mark it down. Just locking in Russell Westbrook. And it is not Russell Westbrook. I think he was actually second on the list, though. Number 1 was LeBron. Yeah. He played LeBron a little bit more than he played Westbrook, though. That's probably the difference. I think average-wise, Westbrook probably had the highest, though.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one right there. He still got 8 points, though. All right, so the third question is how many players in NBA history have had more than 6 fouls in an NBA game? This is a really weird one.
4.
So you're going to roll with 4 times it's happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is not 4. It's actually 12.
Oh wow.
Yeah. A lot of times it happened where players got 7 fouls, and then even one time someone got 8, which is crazy to think about. I think it's like I'm pretty sure it's a rule with like how many players you have active though, and then like you might have to stay in the game if you don't have enough players active, and it's like an extra technical. That's how it worked that one game. I don't know if you remember the game where like Chris Kaman was like sleeping on the bench or something, like for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like that game was kind of like one of those type of instances. So yeah. So you still got 2 points for that though, because you were 8 away. So the fourth question though, this one's going to be a more obscure player. Who has played the least minutes with 6 or more fouls in a game against D-Rose?
Against D-Rose.
Least amount of minutes, but like the quickest foul out in a game against D-Rose.
Obscure player.
It'll kind of make sense, I think, when you hear it, but it might be hard to guess. I'm going to be real.
Ben Wallace.
Rocking with Ben Wallace for the answer.
It's an angry man.
Okay. So he's going with Big Ben. It is not Ben Wallace. Correct answer was Mr. Shackton himself, JaVale McGee.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I feel like it's like a very silly player, but I feel like that might have been too obvious, you know? Because I'm like, okay, like, and if I had said Shackton, I feel like that would have definitely gave it away.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So that one was kind of the tougher all or nothing. So right now you still have 10 points. You got one more question to close it out here. Now this one is relative to D Rose himself. And you can get partial credit on this. I think you'll at least get some points, but we'll see how many. So are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So what is the most turnovers in a game by Derrick Rose?
$11.
So you're going to roll with 11 turnovers?
Yeah.
Okay. And you are correct. It is 11 turnovers.
Hey.
Wow. Way to end strong on that. Man. Just out of curiosity, do you remember when it was or no?
No clue.
Okay.
My guess is it was early Chicago when he was handling the ball a lot.
It was in Chicago, but it was like kind of near the later part. I don't know if you remember that one game when he hit that like step back over Klay Thompson, like when the Warriors won their first championship that season.
Yeah.
He had like 30 points in that game, and he went crazy, but he also had like 11 turnovers. Like the game went to overtime. So, I mean, I guess they won, so it didn't matter all too much, but definitely was a crazy moment. So,
crazy.
Yeah, you had 10 points going into that question. That doubled it up. So you ended with 20 points after that.
Let's go.
So how do you feel about that?
I don't hate that, especially with the end I had there.
Yeah, that was definitely a big pull there. Like, not a lot of people get the, like, I mean, obviously the questions are always like different I make, but not a lot of people get the last question. So the fact you got it right on the nose, especially like a partial credit one right on the nose, those are rare too. So yeah, good stuff. But yes, sir. So again, appreciate you joining me on this episode. I think it was a good one, you know, pretty quick, but I feel like we covered a lot of good topics from your T-Wolves to Zion to some D-Rose. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I don't know if you have anything you want to add before we wrap it up.
Thanks for letting me come on. I had a good time.
Yes, sir. And I will say, I think, I don't know. I mean, obviously I had Jelson do a different mini game, but I think you might have beat a score like with this from that mini game. So
let's go.
It's all about putting down Jelson when we can.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's how we bond over here. But anyways, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.